This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to From Dorms to Desks, job hunting tips for those early in their careers, a podcast brought to you by College Recruiter job search site, which believes that every student and recent grad deserves a great career, and hosted by Work Defined. Join our AI co-hosts as they dive into tips, tricks, and insights that will help you land your next part-time, seasonal, internship, or entry-level job. Let's get your career started.
Okay, so you know that feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
You spend ages, literally hours, polishing your resume, getting every single bullet point just perfect. You're thinking, this is it. I am perfect for this job. You hit submit online, full of hope, and then
nothing.
Exactly, just silence.
Yeah.
Crickets. Even though you felt totally qualified, really excited, it feels like your application just vanished, like into some kind of digital void.
Well, chances are it probably did fall into a kind of black hole, and that black hole actually has a name, Applicant Tracking System.
Applicant Tracking System,
yeah.
Okay.
And it's often not a person looking first, maybe not even looking at all. It's this software, this unseen gatekeeper. That could be the real reason you're hearing nothing back.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this then. Today, we're diving deep into this hidden world of Applicant Tracking Systems, ATS, for short. We really want to explore why that resume you worked so hard on might, well, never even reach a human pair of eyes. And crucially, what you can actually do about it. Think of this as, I don't know, a shortcut maybe. To make sure your resume doesn't get instantly binned by a robot. Like, you wrote this amazing love letter, but the robot mailman just shreds it.
That's a good analogy, actually. And what's really fascinating and honestly pretty frustrating for a lot of people is how these systems, which were originally designed to help employers streamline things, they've become this huge, often invisible hurdle.
A hurdle, yeah.
Especially if you're early in your career, maybe changing fields. Every application feels so important then, doesn't it? So understanding how these things work, how they kind of think, it's just fundamental now. It's key to navigating the job market.
So we're going to get into it. How they work, how they reject people silently.
Exactly. How they work behind the scenes, the mechanics of those quiet rejections, and the real impact they have on people just trying to get a foot in the door.
Understanding the invisible gatekeeper. What is an applicant tracking system? Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. What is an ATS exactly? It sounds kind of sci-fi, this digital guard at the company gates, but it's just software, isn't it? Or is there more to it?
Well, yes, at its heart, it is software, but it's pretty sophisticated software these days. An applicant tracking system, basically, it's designed to help employers with, well, pretty much the whole hiring process.
The whole thing.
Almost. I mean, posting jobs everywhere, collecting all those applications that come flooding in.
Right, the volume must be huge sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. And then organizing them, screening resumes against what they're looking for, even helping schedule interviews and manage the offer letters. It's pretty comprehensive. And, when they first appeared, the idea was genuinely helpful. Think about a big company or even one growing fast, hiring for, say, hundreds of roles a year. Imagine trying to manage thousands of resumes manually.
Chaos. Absolute chaos.
Exactly. And ATS brought order.
Yeah.
Centralized everything, made the workflow smoother for recruiters. It was really about organization and efficiency. But, and this is the big but, here's where it gets really interesting and frankly more complicated for job seekers. Today's ATS platforms, they don't just track candidates anymore.
Right.
They evaluate them. Many now use AI, artificial intelligence, or, complex algorithms to essentially decide which resumes get seen first, which ones rise to the top, and which ones just sink.
Sink to the bottom, yeah.
So they've gone from being like digital filing cabinets to being these powerful gatekeepers. They're not just tracking, they're actively assessing. ranking.
So it's less filing cabinet, more like a digital bouncer deciding who gets in. How common are these bouncers? Is it just the huge companies, the Fortune 500s?
Oh, no. It's way more common than you probably think. It's almost guaranteed if the employer has over, say, 1,000 employees. Yeah. They'll be using one.
1,000, okay.
And even lots of companies with just a few hundred employees use them now, too. I mean, think about it. Even a mid-sized place getting 500 applications for one job. Automated screening suddenly looks pretty good.
Yeah, you can see the appeal from their side.
So the rule of thumb is the bigger the company, the more well-known the brand, the more competitive the role, the higher the chance your resume hits an ATS first, before a human ever sees it, if they ever see it.
So your first impression isn't even with a person, it's with .code.
Pretty much. And you probably didn't even notice when you applied. Most people don't. You click apply, you go to a career page. That page is likely powered by one of these systems, seamlessly built in.
So, names. Are there big players?
Oh, yeah. You've got Workday recruiting, very common in big companies. iCIMS Talent Cloud, Oracle Taleo, that one's been around a while. SAP SuccessFactors. Then you've got Greenhouse, Swing Recruiters, Lever, popular in tech and startups.
Okay, I think I've seen some of those names when applying.
Right. And even smaller companies might use JobVite or Jazz HR. You might not recognize the system you're using, but they're there, these unseen forces kind of sorting things out.
So, wow. If you've ever applied online, especially to a bigger company, and heard nothing back, it's highly likely an ATS was involved. It's like that first interview isn't about you, your personality, your human qualities. It's a machine checking if you use the right words.
Exactly. If you don't speak its language, its specific machine-readable language, you might just get filtered out. It's a whole different game. You got to impress the robot first. Yeah. 2, the silent judgment. How ATS scores, ranks, and quietly rejects job seekers.
Which, brings us to the really crucial question for anyone job hunting.
Yeah.
How does this invisible interview actually work? How does an ATS look at a resume and decide good or bad without a human understanding the context, the story behind the words? What's going on inside that digital black box?
Okay, yeah, let's get into that. Our sources talk about this first step called parsing. What is that? What does parsing mean for my resume, and what's the system actually looking for? Right, parsing. It's fundamental, and it's where things can go wrong right at the start. When an ATS parses your resume, it's basically trying to read it and pull out key bits of information in a structured way.
Structured how?
Like into database fields. It's looking for things like your job titles, who you worked for, your education degrees, school-specific skills you've listed, any certifications. It tries to chop up your resume into these neat little categories it can understand and search. The problem is, if your resume uses, say, fancy graphics, maybe columns, tables, weird fonts, or puts vital info like your name and contact details in the header or footer, the parser can get confused.
Confused, like it just gives up.
I might misread things, yeah. Or skip whole sections, or just fail to pull the data out correctly. Imagine your contact info is in a cool graphic header. The ATS might not be able to read it at all, so even if you scored well, they literally wouldn't know how to call you.
Oh, wow. Okay. So simple is better.
Definitely. Stick to clean, standard formats. Chronological usually works best. Use common fonts, Arial, Calibri, Times New Roman, standard bullet points. Avoid text boxes, tables, columns. Keep it simple. Keep it readable for a machine.
That's huge. So your beautiful creative resume might actually be hurting you with the first gatekeeper.
Hey, I'm Katie Van Horn.
And I'm Jackie Clayton.
We're your hosts of the Inclusive AF podcast, where we take on DEI, leadership, and HR without all the corporate fluff.
That's right. We've got decades of experience, a lot of opinions, and zero tolerance for performative anything.
Every week, we dig into what it really takes to build inclusive workplaces with honesty, strategy, and a few side eyes.
We'll talk about the tough stuff, power dynamics, privilege, what's broken in the system, and how we can all do better.
And don't worry, it's not all heavy. We bring receipts, laughs, and real talk from people actually doing the work.
Think of it as your weekly dose of truth, tips, and a little tea to help you lead with intention and show up for your people.
So if you're ready to push past the buzzwords and get into the actual work of inclusion,
you're in the right place. So subscribe to the Inclusive AF podcast.
New episodes drop every week.
Catch us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We'll be here breaking it down one inclusive convo at a time.
Okay, so once it's parsed, assuming it can parse it, how does it decide if you're a match? How does it score you?
Right, the scoring. This is the evaluation part. The ATS takes that data it just pulled out and compares it meticulously against the job description. What was the company actually looking for?
And how smart is that comparison?
Well, it varies a lot. Some older or simpler systems do a basic keyword match. Literally, does the resume have the exact words from the job ad?
Exact words.
Yeah. If the ad says Salesforce CRM and your resume says CRM tools experience, a basic system might miss the connection, even if you're a Salesforce guru. So you need to mirror the exact language from the job description whenever you can, assuming it's accurate for you, of course. Don't get creative with synonyms if the exact phrase is there.
Got it. Use their words back at them.
Pretty much. But then more advanced systems use things like natural language processing, NLP, or machine learning. They try to understand context and meaning, not just keywords.
Okay, that sounds better.
It is, potentially. An NLP system might figure out that managed sales pipeline software relates to CRM proficiency, but even then, they're not perfect. Subtle phrasing, how well the AI was trained. It can still miss things or misinterpret. So tailoring precisely is still the best bet. You're trying to communicate clearly with a smart but very literal robot.
The literal robot, okay. And then comes the score.
Then comes the invisible score, and this is the part that really impacts you. Based on that comparison, the ATS assigns a score maybe out of 100, maybe stars, maybe tiers, like good fit, okay fit, poor fit. And the crucial thing, you never see it.
Never.
Never. It's totally hidden from the applicant, but the recruiter, they see it. When they log in, the system usually shows them the highest ranked candidates first. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. And then maybe hundreds below that, just buried.
Buried. So your fate hinges on a secret score. That completely changes how you think about applying. What happens to the low-ranked ones? Does the ATS send them a rejection email?
And this is the absolute crux of it, the silent judgment part. For those high-volume jobs, most entry-level roles, popular jobs, big company opening recruiters often only look at the top group, the top tier, maybe the top 2 tiers.
So that's the top.
Often, yeah. There are just too many applications. So those top-ranked resumes, they get human eyes on them. The rest, they're never reviewed, never considered, never discussed. Your resume was seen by the robot, scored poorly by the robot, and ignored.
Ignored.
Yeah.
So is that technically a rejection? You mentioned recruiters might push back on that.
Right. Technically, many recruiters will say the ATS doesn't reject anyone. And, from a strict definition, the ATS itself usually doesn't hit send on a thanks, but no thanks email just because you're ranked low. It just files you away at the bottom, leaves you there. Now, there are knockout questions. Most ATS have these.
Knockout questions.
Yeah, explicit yes-no questions like, are you legally authorized to work here? Do you have X degree? Can you work nights? If you answer no to a required question like that, then yes, the system might automatically boot you out. That is an explicit system rejection.
Okay, that makes sense.
But, and this is really important, that's not what's happening to most people who get the silence. They're not usually getting knocked out by those questions. They're getting disqualified because their ranking was too low.
Too low to be seen.
Exactly. The recruiter just doesn't see them. Maybe they're buried on page 20 of the results, or more likely, the recruiter finds enough good candidates in the top 10 or 20 and just stops looking. Why scroll through hundreds more?
Right, time is limited.
So eventually, weeks or months later maybe, the recruiter fills the job. Then they use the ATS to send out a mass rejection email to everyone else still in the system. That's when you get that generic, we've moved forward with other candidates email.
Even if they never actually considered you.
Precisely. Your application was filtered out long before any human made a judgment call on you. So the key idea, the real takeaway here is this. If your application is never seen by a human because of how the ATS ranked you, then the ATS has effectively rejected you. It wasn't about something you said wrong because you never got to say anything. It was the machine.
Wow.
And this isn't just playing with words. It's real. You could be amazing, perfect for the role. But if you use the wrong keyword, or your formatting confused the parser, or you didn't explicitly list a certification they searched for, boom, low score. Invisible, no interview, functionally rejected by the software.
So you could be the ideal candidate, ticking all the boxes a human would see, but the machine just shunts you aside because you didn't format it right or use the magic words.
Yeah.
That's a massive aha moment. It explains so much of that frustration and silence. It wasn't always you. Sometimes it really was the robot. 3, the broader implications. Is the ATS making hiring decisions?
Exactly. And if we step back and look at the bigger picture here, this powerful filtering function, this ability of the ATS to effectively decide who gets seen, well, it's led to a major legal challenge, a challenge that's asking some really big questions about fairness, accountability, and even potential discrimination in hiring.
Okay, now this sounds really interesting. and maybe hopeful. There's a specific lawsuit you mentioned, Mobley v. Workday, that's tackling this head on. Tell us about that. Why is it such a potential game changer?
Yeah, Mobley v. Workday. It was filed in 2023 by Julian Mobley, who is a Black job seeker, and his experience, sadly, sounds like what a lot of people go through. He says he applied for hundreds, literally hundreds of jobs, using platforms that ran on Workday's ATS.
100, wow.
Yeah. And despite being qualified, he alleges he was rejected again and again, not by people, but by the Workday system itself. He claims it just never passed his application along for human review. The ATS, he argues, was the barrier. So now he's trying to bring a class action lawsuit, and the core argument is fascinating. He's saying Workday's ATS is basically functionally acting as a staffing company, that it's making hiring decisions for employers.
Functionally acting as a staffing company. Why is that specific classification such a big deal legally?
It's absolutely critical, because staffing companies under U.S. law, like Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, have very clear legal obligations not to discriminate. If a staffing agency filters candidates in a way that disadvantages people based on race, gender, age, disability, etc., even if it's unintentional bias in their process, they can be held liable. So Mobley's argument is, if an ATS is doing that same filtering, deciding who gets seen and who doesn't, and if that filtering leads to discriminatory outcomes, say, disproportionately screening out candidates from certain demographic groups, then shouldn't the ATS vendor also be held accountable, similar to a staffing agency? It challenges the whole idea that it's just a tool.
It's saying the tool itself has agency, has responsibility.
Precisely. The legal team is arguing, look, if the ATS scoring and ranking effectively controls who recruiters even see, then it's not just a tool, it's an actor, it's making decisions. And if those decisions have a biased impact, even accidentally, due to maybe biased data it was trained on, or algorithms that unintentionally favor certain profiles, well, that is fundamentally a civil rights issue.
That's huge. It shifts the focus from just optimizing your resume to questioning the fairness of the technology itself.
It really does. Now, Workday, for their part, they strongly deny any wrongdoing. Their defense is essentially, we just provide the software. Employers configure it, they set the criteria, they make the final decisions. We're just one part of their process.
So they're saying the responsibility lies solely with the employer using the tool.
Yes. But the lawsuit really digs into that distinction between explicit rejection and this functional rejection being ranked so low you're never seen. Is the system's design itself contributing to disparate outcomes? If so, is the vendor partially responsible? It forces a look inside that algorithmic black box.
So this case is still ongoing, but if Mobley wins, or even if it leads to a settlement with significant changes...
How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent, savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pâté. Fancy Feast gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in one convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast gems.
What could that mean?
Oh, the implications could be massive. Truly transformative. If courts agree that ATS vendors can bear some responsibility for biased outcomes, it could totally reshape how these tools are built and sold. We might see demands for much greater transparency, like how do these algorithms actually score people? What data are they trained on? How are they tested for bias?
Things that are totally secret now.
Exactly. Hidden behind proprietary code. It could lead to regulations, maybe mandatory independent audits for bias, like financial audits. Employers might demand more control, better bias detection features, maybe even rules saying recruiters have to review a certain percentage of lower-ranked candidates.
So more accountability all around.
That's the potential. Greater accountability for vendors, more transparency for employers, and ultimately perhaps a fairer shot for job seekers, where your actual qualifications matter more than how well you game the algorithm.
So this isn't just about individual job hunts anymore. It feels like we're right in the middle of a huge conversation about technology's role in fairness, in access to opportunity, especially for people starting out. It's not just about getting past the bot. It's about whether the bot itself is fair.
Absolutely. It's a massive conversation with profound implications for the future of work and equity. 4, empowering the job seeker. How to beat the bots.
Okay, listening to all this, it might feel a bit daunting, maybe even overwhelming if you're out there job hunting right now. It's not just people you're competing with. It's these invisible filters, these AI rankings, systems you can't even see. Feels like guessing in the dark sometimes.
We can definitely feel that way.
The good news is you're not powerless. Our sources and everything we've discussed points to practical, concrete things you can do. Steps to seriously boost your chances.
That's right. And look, none of this is a magic bullet, right? There's no guarantee of a job offer. Hiring is complex. Humans are involved eventually. But these strategies, they significantly increase your odds of getting past the machine and into that human stage of the process.
Where the real decisions happen.
Exactly. Where your personality, your experience and context, your passion, where all that can actually come through. The goal here is simply to get seen. So let's break down those strategies. Number one, and this is the big one, tailor your resume meticulously for every single job.
Every single one.
Yeah.
No generic resumes.
Honestly. Not if you want to beat the ATS reliably. It's not just a suggestion anymore. It's pretty much essential. You need to read that job description like you're studying for a test. Dissect it. Then rewrite parts of your resume using their exact phrases and keywords whenever it makes sense for your experience.
Give me an example.
Okay, so if the job ad mentions experience managing cross-functional project teams, don't just put team leadership on your resume. Try to mirror it. Managed cross-functional project teams of number people to achieve specific result. Use their language. Quantify things with numbers whenever you can. ATS systems often look for quantifiable achievements too. It's about translating your experience into the specific dialect the ATS understands for that job and building on that. Focus hard on relevant keywords. Don't just dump them in a skills list at the bottom, though you should have one. Weave them naturally into your experience bullet points. Use the exact terms they use in the job description for skills, software, certifications, job functions.
So if they say Python, you write Python, not just coding skills.
Exactly. Be specific. Be literal. Prioritize the exact match over a synonym. This helps the ATS confidently tick the boxes and give you a higher match score. Strategy 3. Optimize your formatting for the parser. We touched on this, but it's critical. Avoid fancy stuff. No graphics, tables, columns, text boxes, unusual fonts. Headers and footers can sometimes trip up older systems, so maybe avoid putting critical info like contact details exclusively there.
Keep it boring but functional.
Boring but readable to a machine. Think clean, simple, standard. Chronological format is usually safest. Standard fonts like Arial, Calibri, standard bullet points. Maximize machine readability, not visual pizzazz.
Yeah.
At this stage, clarity beats creativity.
Okay, that makes sense. Simple, keyword-rich, tailored. What else?
The final one, and honestly maybe the most effective if you can swing it, diversify how you apply. Don't only rely on hitting submit on the company website and hoping for the best against the ATS. Meaning, try to get a referral. Network. Reach out to people inside the company if you can. Use LinkedIn, alumni networks, personal connections, anything to get a human to see your resume directly.
Ah, the human bypass.
Exactly. A referral often skips the main ATS queue entirely. Your resume might land directly in a recruiter's inbox or get flagged for immediate review. It circumvents that initial robotic filter. Leverage your network. It's often the best way to beat the system.
So it really boils down to playing the robots game to get a chance to play the human game. It feels so backward, designing your resume for a machine first.
Yeah.
But you're saying it's absolutely essential now.
It really is for a huge number of online applications. Because the bottom line is this. Right now, if the software doesn't like your resume, if it can't read it properly or scores you low, the recruiter probably won't ever lay eyes on it.
If they don't see it.
They can't consider you, no matter how perfect you are. Which means, in a very real way, the ATS didn't just track your application. It decided your fate for that specific job opening.
Wow. Okay, so we've really dived deep today into this, well, fascinating but also kind of unnerving world of applicant tracking systems. We've learned that the silence you get after applying, it's not always about you or your qualifications. Often it's about the software. But more importantly, hopefully, we've armed you with some solid practical strategies to up your chances to get past that digital gatekeeper and actually get seen by a human being.
And I think this whole conversation, especially when you bring in something like the Mobley v. Workday case, it really pushes us to ask a bigger question, doesn't it? As AI gets woven deeper and deeper into our lives, including something as critical as getting a job, how much decision-making power are we really okay with giving to algorithms?
Yeah.
And what's the responsibility of the companies creating these powerful systems? How do they ensure fairness, transparency, actual equity and opportunity for everyone, not just those who know how to speak robot?
That is a really powerful thought to end on. Something for all of you listening to think about, maybe as you tackle your next job application, or just as you consider the future of work and technology's place in it. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep working to make sure those bots don't get the final word on your career.
This has been From Dorms to Desks, job hunting tips for those early in their careers. A podcast brought to you by College Recruiter job search site, which believes that every student and recent grad deserves a great career. Each episode, we dive into tips, tricks, and insights that will help you land your next part-time, seasonal, internship, or entry-level job. Subscribe to this podcast for free now, so you don't miss an episode, and visit www.collegerecruiter.com to find your next great job.